You love your dog. You'd do anything for them. But here's the hard truth sometimes. The way we love hurts them. Not because we mean to, but because dogs speak a quiet language we often fail to hear. They don't say, "I'm lonely," but they feel it in their bones. They don't cry when ignored, but their spirit does. A missed gaze, a harsh word, a door closed too long, these aren't small to them. They're cracks in trust. Most heartbreaks don't come from cruelty, but from what we forget, overlook, or brush off as no big deal. In this video, we'll walk through 10 everyday habits that may be quietly breaking your dog's heart and show you how just one shift in your awareness can bring peace to their world. So, take a breath, stay with me, because the very first one might be something you did just this morning. 1. Ignoring your dog. When they seek connection. Picture this: your dog nudges your hand while you're on your phone, brings you their favorite toy while you're pouring coffee, or simply sits quietly at your feet, looking up at you with those deep, waiting eyes. And what do most of us do? We smile, maybe, but we keep scrolling. We say, "Later, buddy," or worse. We say nothing at all. And to us, it feels like nothing. But to them, it's everything. When your dog comes to you like that, they're not begging for attention, they're reaching for connection. That gentle nudge isn't just cute. It's a whisper that says, "I need you right now." And when we miss that moment, especially over and over again, it chips away at the safe bond they thought they had with us. They don't know you're busy. They just feel left out. Over time, that silence turns into sadness, confusion, even a slow withdrawal from the closeness you once shared. You might notice they stop asking. They stop looking. And what's worse, you might think they're just getting older when in fact they're just quietly hurting. And here's where it gets even more delicate. When we miss those early signs of emotional reaching out, we often also miss the deeper, quieter pain they carry when we're away too long, or when they have no idea when we're coming back. Let's talk about that next. 2. Leaving for too long without a predictable routine. You see, dogs don't wear watches, but their hearts know time in a way we can't measure. And when you leave the house, they don't count minutes. They feel absence. Not knowing when you'll return. That's where the ache begins. Imagine waking up, and your world makes no sense, no pattern, no rhythm. One day, you're gone for 2 hours, the next for 10, and they wait. In silence, in stillness, with no idea if this is forever. Routine isn't just convenience for dogs, it's safety. It tells them you always come back. And when that pattern breaks too often, their little world starts to feel unstable. You might not see it right away. It shows up quietly. They stop eating when you're gone. They pace. They whine. Or they just go eerily still, resigned to uncertainty. Now let's be honest. Life gets busy. Work errands, appointments, they pull us away. But for your dog, those long hours alone without signals, no goodbye ritual, no scent to hold on to, no comforting cue, feel like emotional free fall. And over time, that stress can become chronic. They don't just miss you. They start to lose faith that you'll come back. And here's something even more heartbreaking: the more uncertain they feel, the harder it becomes for them to relax, even when you're finally home. That wagging tail might not mean they're fine. It might mean they're desperate for reassurance. A clear rhythm, a scent on a blanket, a predictable goodbye that's not spoiling them. That's giving them emotional shelter. But what happens when even at home, they're not getting what they truly need? Let's go there. Because what's missing isn't just your time. It's what they were made for. 3. Not giving enough physical and mental stimulation. You're finally home. You've fed your dog, given them a quick walk, maybe tossed the ball a few times, and you think, that should be enough, right? But here's what most people don't realize. Dogs weren't made for quiet couches and backyards alone. They were born to move, to think, to explore. And when we don't meet those deeper needs, not just physical but mental, we leave them stuck in a loop of quiet frustration. It doesn't always show up as barking or chewing your shoes. Sometimes it's subtler. They sleep more than usual. They stare at walls. They become clingy or weirdly distant. And deep down, it's not laziness. It's sadness. It's boredom turned inward. Because a dog without purpose becomes a dog that slowly shuts down. You wouldn't lock a curious child in a room with nothing to do. But that's exactly what happens when we give dogs food and shelter but not challenge. Their minds are sharp. Their instincts, sniffing, problem-solving, chasing, are wired to do. And when that energy has nowhere to go, it turns inward, into anxiety, depression, even aggression. And the worst part, many owners never connect the dots. They just think their dog is calmer with age or getting lazy. But the truth is, they're checking out, quietly, day by day. And if that sounds like something you've seen, the next part might hit even harder. Because what happens when on top of all that, the person they trust most suddenly turns cold or loud or unpredictable? Let's talk about that next. 4. Yelling or using harsh punishment. You love your dog, but when they mess up, it's easy to snap. They tore the pillow, peed on the floor, barked for no reason, and before you even realize it, your voice rises. Maybe you yell. Maybe you scold with sharpness. Maybe you shove them away not hard, but enough to make your point. And in that moment, you think you're teaching, correcting. But what your dog feels is fear. Here's the thing. Dogs don't understand wrong the way we do. They don't connect your anger to what happened 5 seconds ago. All they know is this: the person I trust just became unpredictable. And when that happens, often enough, something inside them shifts. That tail that once wagged when you entered the room, it gets slower. The eyes that used to sparkle when you spoke, they start to avoid yours, because they're no longer sure who you are. Harsh correction doesn't teach it. Silences. It makes dogs cautious, closed, emotionally tight. And over time, that doesn't build respect. It breaks connection. Your dog isn't being stubborn. They're scared to try, scared to get it wrong, scared that love now comes with sharp edges. And here's the quiet tragedy: they don't stop loving you. Even when they're scared, they still look for your approval. That's loyalty. But loyalty under fear. That's not the kind of bond any of us want. Now imagine how confusing it gets when one day you yell, and the next you laugh at the same behavior. That's not just scary, that's chaos in their world. And that's exactly where we're heading next. 5. Sending mixed signals. Without realizing it, imagine this: one day your dog jumps up to greet you, and you laugh, ruffle their ears, maybe even give them a treat. But the next day they do the exact same thing, and suddenly you're annoyed. You say, down in a firm voice, you turn your back. You're frustrated. From your side, it's just a mood. But from theirs, it's pure confusion. Dogs thrive on consistency. They don't just learn from rewards, they build emotional security from patterns. When you react one way today and the opposite tomorrow, they don't see flexibility. They see instability. And that shakes them at their core. Think about it like this: every time your dog does something, they're asking, is this okay? And if the answer keeps changing, they don't stop asking. They just stop trying. That spark they had, the eagerness to connect, to please, to interact, it fades into uncertainty. They hesitate before approaching you. They pause before playing, because they no longer trust the outcome. Even well-meaning actions can blur the lines. Comforting a whining dog might feel kind, but if they're anxious, it may reinforce the very fear you're trying to soothe. Laughing when they bark for attention feels harmless, until it becomes a habit that stresses both of you out. Over time, these small misalignments pile up. And here's where it gets even more heartbreaking: the dogs most affected by mixed signals aren't the wild ones. They're the sensitive ones, the ones trying their hardest to be good. But what happens when these quiet signs of emotional stress go completely unnoticed? When your dog starts fading into the background and you chalk it up to just being tired, that's what we need to look at next. 6. Not noticing. When your dog is sad, it's easy to see when your dog is excited. The tail wags, the zoomies hit the eyes, light up like fireworks. But sadness, that's quieter. And that's the problem, because most people miss it completely. Dogs don't cry like we do. They don't mope dramatically or tell you I'm not okay. Instead, they go still. They sleep more. They stop bringing you toys. They avoid eye contact, or suddenly become too clingy like they're holding on to something slipping away. And we say, he's just tired, or she's getting older. But often, it's not age, it's not laziness, it's emotional shutdown. And when we miss that, when we brush off those little shifts in energy, routine, or expression, that's when trust starts to crumble. Because in their eyes, they reached out, and we didn't see them. We didn't feel them. Your dog depends on you not just for food and walks, but to be their emotional mirror, to notice when they're off, when their joy is dimmer, when something doesn't feel quite right. And here's the hardest part: when sadness lingers long enough, it starts to feel like the new normal. They stop hoping you'll notice. They start fading into the background, not because they want to, but because they've learned no one's looking. But what if it's not just emotional distance they're dealing with? What if at the root of that sadness is something even deeper? A missing part of their social world that we've accidentally taken away. Let's go there next. 7. Not allowing healthy socialization. Dogs are social beings wired not just to bond with us, but to explore the world through safe, meaningful connections. Yet too often we isolate them without realizing it. Maybe we avoid the dog park because we're nervous. Maybe we think our dog just doesn't like others. Or maybe life gets busy, and walks turn into quick bathroom breaks with no room to interact. But here's the truth: when a dog is cut off from healthy social experiences, other dogs, new humans, different environments, it's not just boredom they feel. It's loneliness. It's emotional stagnation. Their world shrinks, and with it, so does their confidence. They become hesitant, reactive, or withdrawn. Not because they're aggressive, but because they're underexposed. On the flip side, flooding them with chaotic, overstimulating situations, like shoving a nervous pup into a loud dog park or family party, can be just as damaging. It's not socialization, it's overwhelm. And overwhelm leaves scars, too. Dogs need structured, gradual, positive exposure to newness. Think of it like emotional exercise. It builds resilience, it teaches trust, and it helps your dog feel safe in a world that's always changing. When we rob them of that, even unintentionally, we limit who they can become. They don't get to develop the full emotional muscle they were built for. And if this one hit home, if you've noticed your dog pulling back from the world, then the next mistake might surprise you. Because sometimes, it's not about what we take away, it's about what we forget to give space for. Let's talk about that. 8. Not giving your dog space to rest and recharge. Love makes us want to be close. We hug, we cuddle, we follow our dogs around like proud parents, and it comes from the best place. But here's what we often forget: dogs need space too. Emotional space, physical space, time to just be. Not all dogs are extroverts. Even the cuddliest ones need moments to recharge without being touched, talked to, or overstimulated. And when we hover over them constantly, even with affection, they can start to feel trapped. It's not about rejection, it's about regulation. Their nervous system needs room to breathe, especially in homes with kids' guests, noise, or nonstop interaction. Dogs may never get that crucial downtime, and without it, their stress builds. It doesn't always look like anxiety. Sometimes it's subtle, avoiding your hand, sleeping under the bed, moving away more often. You might think, is she mad at me? But the truth is, she might just be overwhelmed. Providing a quiet corner, a bed that's truly theirs, or even just honoring the moment when they walk away, that's not distance. That's respect. That's trust. Because here's something powerful. When a dog knows they can take space without losing your love, their bond with you deepens. They don't need to cling to feel secure. They rest easy, knowing you're there when they're ready. And when they do come back to you, tail wagging, body relaxed, that moment means more than anything. But what happens when we do give space? But we miss the signs that something deeper is wrong. When we think they're resting, but really, they're silently in pain. That's what we need to explore next. 9. Overlooking signs of physical discomfort or illness. Sometimes silence isn't peace, it's pain. And when it comes to dogs, that silence can be dangerously convincing. You see them resting more, moving a little slower, not eating quite as much. And you think, maybe they're just tired. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe they're getting older. But here's the truth. Dogs are masters at hiding discomfort. In the wild, showing pain meant showing weakness. That instinct hasn't gone away. Your dog won't cry like we do. They won't limp unless it really hurts. Instead, they might lick the same spot over and over. They might shift their weight subtly when standing, or stop greeting you at the door not because they don't care, but because it hurts too much to get up. And here's where it gets even harder. Emotional withdrawal can look just like physical fatigue. So unless we're tuned in, really watching, we miss it. We think they're just mellowing out, when in fact, they may be quietly struggling, waiting for us to notice. The smallest signs matter. A sudden yelp when picked up. A change in how they jump on the couch. A weird new habit that seems harmless. These are whispers from a body trying to speak. Ignoring them doesn't just let the issue grow, it tells your dog without words, I don't see you. And over time, that erodes the trust that says, you're safe with me. I've got you. So pay attention. Because sometimes what looks like calm is actually silent suffering. And yet even when our dogs are feeling okay physically, there's one more mistake that can deeply confuse them. Something that comes not from pain, but from how we teach. Or more often, how we don't. Let's get into it. 10. Inconsistent training that breaks their confidence. Dogs don't need to be perfect, but they do need to understand what's expected. And when the rules keep changing, when one day they're allowed on the couch, and the next they're scolded for it, something inside them starts to break. Not obedience, not behavior, confidence. Training isn't just about sit, stay, or heel. It's about clarity. It's about giving your dog a framework where they know what's okay, what's not, and most importantly, that they're safe while figuring it out. But when we're inconsistent, even with the best intentions we make, that world's shaky. You say no when they beg at the table, until guests come over and you slip them a bite. You praise them for being calm, but laugh when they bark for attention. You set boundaries, then erase them. To you, it feels like flexibility. To them, it's chaos. And dogs don't argue. They don't push back with words. What they do is withdraw. They become unsure. They hesitate before responding. Not because they're stubborn, but because they're afraid of getting it wrong again. Their world becomes a guessing game, and that takes a toll on their emotional security. And here's the heartbreaking part. The most loyal dogs, the ones who want nothing more than to please you, are often the ones who suffer most from inconsistency. They try so hard. And when their efforts are met with confusion or mixed reactions, they start to shut down. They need steady. They need patient. They need clear. Because in that clarity, they find confidence. And in that confidence, they find peace. So if you've seen your dog hesitate, look unsure, or shrink back lately, it might not be disobedience. It might be heartbreak wrapped in uncertainty. Now you see it, don't you? Heartbreak in a dog doesn't come crashing in like a storm. It arrives slowly, quietly, in missed moments, mixed messages, long absences, or love given the wrong way. And the hardest part, it often happens in the homes where dogs are most loved, but least understood. But here's the good news. Every single one of these heartbreaks can be healed. It starts with awareness, with noticing that soft nudge, that quiet sigh, that glance that says, "Are you still here with me?" You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Because for your dog, your presence is their whole world. They don't want a flawless human. They want you, calm, kind, consistent, loving in a way that sees them not just as pets, but as emotional beings full of loyalty and longing. If even one of these 10 signs made you pause, made you think, that might be me, then you're already the kind of person your dog trusts most. Don't let that trust fade. Strengthen it, deepen it, and let's keep learning together. If this video helped you see your dog in a new light, go ahead, hit subscribe, because there's so much more we're going to uncover. Together we'll build a world where every dog feels safe, understood, and truly, deeply loved. I'll see you in the next one.